The EU road trip has now brought us to Taranto, the site of the Ilva steel plant, which provides about 20,000 jobs to the local area.
But its fumes are also blamed by local health authorities for causing the death of tens of thousands of people.
In 2012, it was even seized by the public prosecutor. The vast scientific evidence proves that the air quality in this area is dangerous for the people who live here. We were invited into the home of Angelo and Carla, who have 3 sons. They took us into the bedroom of their middle son, Giorgio, who died in January at the age of 15. He suffered from soft tissue cancer called sarcoma. His parents spent months travelling around Italy and abroad to find better treatments for him, but nothing worked.
Si entra nell'inferno, non c'è altra metafora che si possa usare. Io mi domando, il futuro, se non si spengono immediatamente queste fonti inquinanti, come sarà? Forse la fortuna è se non nascono proprio questi bambini, perché se debbano passare quello che ha passato lui, cioè, è indescrivibile, non lo auguro a nessuno.
Their story is sadly far more common in this part of Italy. Tumour rates in children here are 54% higher than elsewhere in the country. The chimneys of the Ilva plant are visible from most parts of the city. The company which now runs it, ArcelorMittal, committed to improving air quality when it bought the plant in 2017. Members of the previous management are in prison for causing an environmental disaster. The Five Star Movement party in the ruling coalition government in Italy was elected into office on the promise of closing Ilva.
Guarda, io arrivato a sto punto, ho 51 anni, 2 volte operato di tumore, non mi fido più di questo Stato italiano, di niente.
Here in the Tamburi neighbourhood of Taranto, the Carabinieri have actually seized and closed off a whole hillside area for toxicity. They say that nobody should be going anywhere near it. But right behind me, you can take a look, that's the local elementary school. The children here are frequently told not to attend school by the municipality when the steel plant is particularly active. Antonia Battaglia has been campaigning for the European Union to step in to help the people of Taranto. The EU Commission launched an infringement procedure against the Italian government for the plant breaching EU standards most of the time.
The environmental and the sanitary crises are very strong. So there must be a political decision, but this political decision must also be accompanied by a confrontation with the reality and with the real issues on the ground. So as citizens, we ask a more strong involvement and also a bigger role of the Parliament.
As the sun sets over Taranto, the fumes from the Ilva cloud the skyline. After 2 weeks driving more than 1,200 kilometres across the French Alps and then from the far north of Italy, we arrive in the southern port of Brindisi. Euronews correspondent Brian Carter was waiting for us there before heading on the next leg of the trip. The last stop for us in Italy. We are now handing over to Brian Carter. You are going to be going through Greece.
Yes, and like many of you have been watching their fantastic reports across Italy from north to south. They've done amazing stories interviewing Italians from all walks of life. I just want to ask you, what were your main impressions, Elena?
Well, what we saw is that many Italians perceive migration still as a problem that has to be solved, and they feel abandoned by the other member states of the EU in managing the flux of migrants. But also one of the major issues is job opportunities, especially for young people. They feel that there are no opportunities left in the country. Politicians should do more. Many people, especially the young people, feel that they have to leave the country to find opportunities maybe abroad.
And as we know, Italians and European citizens are heading to the polls in just a few weeks for the EU elections. And here in Italy, it comes at a time when this government has been in power for less than a year. Jack, did you feel that the upcoming elections are more about judgment on this government, or it's actually about EU issues?
A bit of both. The government, especially the Five Star Movement, made a lot of promises to people in the country. So a lot of people feel upset that that hasn't come to fruition, and that might translate into the European Parliament elections. What's interesting is that in the last EP elections, 60% of people in Italy headed out to the polls to vote, so they will have a big say when it comes in May, we expect. Now, you're heading to Greece. Is there anything you're expecting to find?
Well, I'll be meeting up with Faye Dulcari from the Athens Bureau, and just like you, we'll be traveling across Greece from Igoumenitsa in the west all the way to Evros in the east. And like you, we'll be covering different stories and trying to find Greeks from all walks of life to ask them how they feel towards the current government, towards the economy, and especially towards the European Union.
Well, now then it's your turn to take the keys of the car, and we wish you good luck.
Thank you very much.
Kalitiki, as they say.